Welcome to Wholistic Hearts, a place to dive deeper into living holistically, a place where my mom shares thoughts on living fully, creating intentionally, and empowering others to come along with her in this journey.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to switch it up a little bit. Hey, we are on our second week of pursuing wholehearted, holistic living. And this week, I thought of my dear friend, fellow go-getter in the ministry realm, and her name is Darlene Kalawe. And she has been a pivotal person in my life. She was one of the beginning people that really listened to the Father's heart without even knowing me personally. She actually listened for me and gave a note to my husband at a retreat that she was a part of supporting, and oh man, it rocked my world. And one of the things that she had mentioned in it was, "You are made for this." And I can't tell you how much that phrase alone has grounded me in times of needing courage, needing to step out of my comfort zone. And so I thought, hey, you know what? Let's interview Dar, because she brings her whole heart every time that she speaks at these retreats. And she brings her whole heart through her Instagram pages. She has an Instagram page called dawn.experiences. I'll put it in the show notes below, with her twin sister. And they are just beautifully written. And they really hit into the heart of anyone, man or woman. So I encourage you to find that. She also is a little mama of a 9-month-old, which you'll hear possibly in the background while we talked, because, hey, this is real life. And I just adore how much she loves being a mama. And let's see, what else do I love about Dar? Man, there's so much to say, but I just encourage you, share this with a friend who needs to hear this, because this interview I have replayed over and over in my head, and it has really gifted me. It has been a huge tove fruit. If you've heard me talk about tove fruit, it's fruit that multiplies even after it's been given. And this is exactly what it is. But before we get going, I did want to remind you the Heavenly Commission is out on my website. The course is online. It's ready to go for you anytime. January through March, it will be available. After March, we're taking it off until next year. So if you wanted to jump into this 8-week online course, grab a pen or clicker or your thumb and hit the link in the show notes and enjoy. I can't wait for you to dive in and discover your kingdom identity, your kingdom purpose, your kingdom goals for 2021. All right. I think that's it for now. You guys, turn on those AirPods, those earbuds, whatever you're listening to, and just soak in this tenderness, this lovingness, and you can tell that she has spent time with the Father. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wholistic Hearts. I am so excited, as I said before on my introduction, to have Darlene Kalawe on the show. And she is, man, I'm just a wealth of heartful wisdom, knowledge, connection with the Holy Spirit. And because we have been talking about pursuing holistic and wholehearted living, I thought, there's no better person than Dar, who has been this example for me for so long. Oh, I'm going to get teary-eyed just thinking about it, of just really tuning in with your whole heart and not being scared to let it shine, all of the parts, whether they're really beautiful or they're really messy. And so welcome to the show, Dar.
Well, thank you.
Mm.
Making me tear up too. So thanks, Kristin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just so many beautiful backstories here. And yeah, I could think of no better person to bring the conversation of wholehearted pursuit when we are talking about our relationship with the Lord. And so I thought, hey, I would love to hear your story and how it all began with you and what started you on this journey with Jesus of just wholeheartedness.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I guess I just first want to say thank you again to just whoever's listening. The invitation is just a humbling moment for me to say yes to. And so I just want to thank you, Kristin, for the ask and the invitation to get to be part of the conversation today. So when I think about my growth and even learning what that means for me to live a wholehearted life or to live with wholehearted relationship, I think it truly, if I can whittle everything else away, it comes down to a deeper desire for authenticity and authentic living. And what I mean by that is I don't do fake well. I can't handle when someone or when I don't show my true colors. It just doesn't sit well. And so I think back to when I in my walk with Jesus, when I first I guess started to kind of dig more in that, and it began because I wanted the real. I wanted the fullest understanding of God's love. I didn't want to kind of understand it or to live through other people's stories. I wanted my story. Yeah. And so I think in my 20s, I'm 35 now, and in my 20s, I think that looked kind of just, I think that's when it first started, but that's when it looked like just being silly for him and going on what I call treasure hunts to understand what he was saying and to discover him in relationships and nature and in anything. I was just on a treasure hunt all the time. And that treasure hunting, I think, is what kind of began my desire for more wholehearted living with him.
That's cool. I love that, the treasure hunting. Because it's kind of similar to, I call them God winks or,
Totally.
I have a client who calls them something slap and
okay.
I was like, oh, it's offensive, but I totally get it.
Right.
Yes. Those moments of oh, I'm recognizing you in everyday life, in my own story. And I love that distinction of what you were saying of I have to find this out for myself. And I think every believer should walk through that season of what does this look like for me personally?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, because then when the rubber meets the road, we can fall back on our own story with him, right? When stuff hits the fan, I can think about how other people have experienced him, but unless I have my own story to lean back on, I don't think I think we're sunk. I think we need our own story with him. We can think about what other people have told us, but it's most true when it's our own, right?
Right. It's that digging your own roots and deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Do you feel like that your relationship has really shifted as becoming a mom, because you're a brand new mom.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you feel like that it's amplified that wholeheartedness?
Absolutely. I think, so yeah, I have a 9-month-old now, and my husband and I were just talking yesterday saying, wow, we don't know parenthood without COVID.
That's wild.
And so just how, and we're not being ruled by it, but it's definitely like a filter, right? Of learning what parenthood looks like and navigating those waters.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we've really tried to just hold each other to is not living out of a place of fear. And I think that is, I mean, that's parenting no matter what, right? Like, we have to trust the Father's heart for our kids more than we can trust our own because
Yes.
we will fail them, and we're not going to do this life of parenting perfectly. And as a recovering perfectionist, I've learned that head on in the last 9 months, just how I'm not capable of loving Lenoa, that's my daughter's name, loving her without him. Like, I need the Father's grace for my own life, moment to moment, in order to love my daughter well. If I rely on my own good ideas and my own strength, I get tired quickly. So yeah, that's one thing for sure that I've learned.
Yeah,
And that's like hit
good.
me smack dab in my face with this new level of wholeheartedness in parenting. Yeah.
That's really good. Well, and we have a lot of young moms that listen to the show. And so I'm going to pivot a little bit, because I think that
Sure.
you have a gift in that. And I'm just thinking of like a mom in the season who feels like she's drowning. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, who is stuck in that fear. Like, how would you wholeheartedly help her to come before him and bring all
Yeah.
of that to him? How would you encourage?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that we have to be willing to risk. And what that's looked like for me is, well, let me back up for a second. I think that to experience true freedom and like that feeling of walls coming down or getting unstuck or going from floating on our back to not treading water anymore requires action. And I think that vulnerability and risk are two part of those things that are required.
Yeah.
I think what that's looked like for me is a good long cry.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
a walk by myself and just letting myself fall apart, and that ugly cry, and letting the deepest parts, the darkest parts of my thought life actually come out,
Yeah.
rather than trying to stuff them down or rather than trying to manage them and just stay strong enough. Like, those moments when I've gone on a drive and just let myself yell in the car alone,
Amen.
those are the moments that I feel like my walls come down, and then God gets to be who he's always meant to be for
Wow.
me. And those are the moments where I feel like, okay, I am being wholehearted here. Like, I'm not masking anything. I'm not faking it till I make, like, I'm this is the real raw me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that totally answers your question, but we can keep traveling through that idea.
Yeah. No, I think it's great because, I just talked about self-care on here, and I think it just hits at a place where I actually was just talking to my sister-in-laws over break about how that good cry, like most of the time it's like, I just need to cry and get it
Right.
out. And the self-care in that, the deeper question is, what do I need right now? And sometimes it is that good cry. Sometimes it is that, like, I just got to freak out.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, and I guess there's this, I know for me, there's this balance of knowing who I'm created to be, wrestling with the real hard questions and trying to like marry those of like, is it wholehearted if I am, let's bring it into real. So I've had something that I've in my health, the autoimmune stuff, for 10 years, that I know in my identity I am healed. And the wrestling out is, the reality is, every month I experience this health issue that is so taxing. And the wrestling through that of, instead of stuffing the, somebody else said, it's like pushing down a beach ball in the water when you're like, just stay down there,
Right.
And then eventually
work.
it comes up and like nails you in the face.
Right.
But that tension of, yes, I know I am healed. That's what he says of my portion. And every day or every month when I experience it, that is my reality. I'm not going to, be ignorant and still struggle with this. Or it could be whatever. It could be, I still struggle with fear, or I still struggle with trust, or whatever. I guess just bringing those two together, that authenticity of, I have to express it, and then I'm going to come back to, do you know what I mean? Like, where's that?
Absolutely.
What happens in that in between?
Yeah. Well, and I think you said it really well that, as I was listening to you talk, one of the things that I think is most true for me is there's no way that I can be truly wholehearted and still try to manage the outcome. Like, I have to learn how to let go and relinquish control. Yeah. And so I think the other part of living out this wholeheartedness, whether it's, in parenting or relationships, is letting go of control.
Yeah.
And saying, God, I believe no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I'm disappointed with, no matter what I'm angry about, like you are doing something, whether I see it or not. And so, and that, like, that's just not a good idea. We actually have to live that out. Right. And so I think that is a key to living out wholeheartedness, is that we aren't in control. And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard for all of us. And control looks so different for all of us. Right. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the things that I've found to be most true in this journey as well.
Yeah. Okay. So you're using lingo, most true. That is, like I've said in the intro, I know Dar through Revel.org. It's the retreats that have changed my whole life with Jesus. And so one of the things that they talk about is there's true and most true. So can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, I think the way I would explain that is there are things that happen to us in life that are true. For example, a friend dealing with depression and how that is impacting me is hard. And I am sometimes afraid for her. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I worry. Sometimes I want to just show up at her house to make sure she's okay. Mm-hmm. Those are all true things. What's most true is that she is a child of God, that Jesus is her rescuer and that he has plans for her.
That's good. Okay.
So my reality is that I can feel worrisome. I can feel afraid, but what's most true is that he is doing something, and I can't actually rescue my friend.
Yeah.
He is her rescuer. That's what's most true. So is that, I hope that that's a good example.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think it helps understand that a little bit more clearly, the most true concept. Okay. So if someone is just starting on their wholehearted journey,
Yeah.
what are some things that can help somebody open up more authentically in their relationship if they're so used to, I just think of, like, say there's a woman who is, I have to have my stuff together in order to come before Jesus. Like, what would you say to somebody in that position?
Yeah. I think I would ask some questions of why they feel the need to have it so put together. And I would ask like, what is that about for you? Like, why do you feel like you need to have all the boxes checked in order to come to Jesus with your heart? And in asking those questions, I would hope that we could get to the place of where they feel inadequate or they feel hopelessness. I would want to get to the bottom and the root of that with them, because I think it's in those places of getting to the root of things. Then we can say, okay, I actually don't trust God with XYZ, and here's why I don't want to come to him with it. I think that that's what's most true for me, is that usually when I'm not fully coming to him, it's a trust issue.
Yeah.
I feel better if I get to manage and control things because then I have control of the outcome. And that is a trust issue with the Father. And that's, I mean, no shame in that. Like, I think we get to work that out forever on this side of heaven. And I'm not saying that as like a hopelessness. I'm just saying that as a reality of this journey that we've got to start somewhere. And I think getting to those roots of the places that we don't fully trust him or even don't fully believe that he cares. And getting to those roots, I think then we can uncover what he's trying to do and the direction of what's next.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good. Okay. So within that, how does one come out of like compartmentalizing? Like, this is my quiet time.
Right.
And then I'm going to move into mom mode or work mode or whatever mode, surviving online school mode.
Right.
How do you incorporate the wholeheartedness from having that time with the Lord to your wholehearted life?
Yeah. It's a good question. So I think, so here's my first thought. This is where my head went as you were talking. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and getting the same outcome, right? Like nothing changes. And so I would ask myself, like, okay, is my quiet time and listening to the same 3 worship songs? And then, like, how's that working for me? How's that going?
Yeah.
Do I actually feel alive, or am I just a robot going through the motions?
Wow.
Because we are beings that are meant to be alive, right? We're not meant to go through the motions. We are meant for fullness and abundance and vibrancy.
Yeah.
So if I'm not feeling those things, then I probably should try something new.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say to myself. That's what I would say to any woman that I'm talking to who just feels like stuck, or they're wanting the next thing to try.
Yeah.
I would say try anything. try anything that you haven't already done.
Yeah.
What does that look like for me? There have been seasons where I don't read books.
Yep.
I love books. I love getting knowledge from other people who are farther down the road than me. But there have been times where I numb out because I'm just reading 5 books at a time, and it's actually not doing anything inside of me.
Yeah.
So I've put books on the shelf and literally, and not picked anything up for a season, so that I don't just become like numb to it.
Yep.
So that's just one practical example of trying something new.
That's good.
To get unstuck. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. I love the realization that we're not robots. Like, we have to switch it up. There is so much more abundance. And for me, like in some seasons, well, I totally resonate with you about the books. I took like the whole year off last year and didn't read one nonfiction book until December. And I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, okay, I'm tapped out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I was going to say the switching it up. I remember having a conversation with Eugene Lunning a while ago, and he was sharing how when he becomes bored, he's like, obviously, I'm not connecting to the creator of all things, because there's no way that Jesus is boring.
Right.
And like coming to that of like, what am I missing? How can I open up more and realize that there's so much more opportunity? And I think that we can get stuck in a rhythm that no longer serves us. And especially for like young moms that I know when I had all my littles, I was very the box checker, and I would get so frustrated if I didn't wake up early before my kids, because then in my head, my narrative was, if I don't get my quiet time, then I'm going to be a terrible mom the rest of the day.
Right.
And it has taken me years to break that cycle. And to the point where even at the beginning of quarantine this last year, there was a whole good 3 or 4 months where I slept in. I mean, it was like 8:00 and my kids were already watching TV for like an hour, and I'd wake up and be like, hello.
Right.
And just being okay with that grace season of like, I am in you sleeping. Like, that is just as beautiful in this season of you needing rest as the seasons where I do wake you up at 5:00 in the morning to come spend time with me. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Ugh.
Well, and I think that there's something really hard just culturally about like feeling good based on what you got done in a day.
Yeah. Yes.
Or and that like culturally for I think especially moms, like we have this underlying pressure to like prove what our day consisted of, and that like and then somehow our worth gets tied up in what we did or didn't do. And I just would say like, goodness, like let's show ourselves some grace, right? That is just and being like moms with the era of social media, I just think culturally, like we are drowning, whether we know it or not. And so there's just got to be some grace and some kindness for ourselves that we get to figure this out. We don't have to figure this out. Like we get to grow in this, and just to take some pressure off of ourselves, because we're not going to do it perfectly. So I just, my heart just like aches for when I see the pressure, the amount of pressure that I put on myself too. I'm like, goodness, Dar, just loosen up a little.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's really good. And like, it's a good fresh breath of air right there. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, before we go, I do want to ask, how are you personally creating that wholehearted approach right now in this specific season with everything that's going on? What is something that moves you into that place of, I'm going to bring my whole heart?
Yep. One practical thing that I do is, well, I have the privilege of having a twin sister who happens to be my best friend as well. And she and I can say anything to her without her judging me.
Yeah.
And I know that not everyone has that person in their life, but I would implore everyone to find that one that you can say the like ugliest thoughts to, and you know that they have your back still.
Yeah.
That may be a family member, that may be a spouse, that may be a friend, whatever it is, but that's been a saving grace for me, knowing that I can share the deepest, like most yuck thing, and I'm still going to be loved.
Yeah.
I think that's super important because isolation is one of the biggest things that blocks the wholehearted journey.
Yeah.
I think when we feel alone, wholeheartedness is just a really fun idea.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you need those friends that are going to push you. I'm thinking of, I have a friend in particular who's like, Kristin, you're super quiet. And because I am an introvert, I do go totally internal. And then, but I do have that sweet gift of a friend that's like, what's going on with you? I know something's going on because you're real quiet.
Yeah.
And that is, I totally 100% agree with you on that. Imploring everyone to reach out and make that first step of vulnerability and authenticity with a friend.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dar. I so appreciate your time. And you guys, just a little nugget. Dar makes the most amazing jewelry, specifically earrings, and she has an Etsy shop. And we'll post a link on the show notes for you guys to check it out. And also, I did want to mention the Revel retreat. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So here in a couple of weekends, there's a virtual retreat that's offered to you and anyone, any woman that you know. I'm sure Kristin can post the link for that as well. But the theme is, if I'm honest, and really that's the heartbeat, is just to what we talked about today, just uncovering the honesty of where we're all at, and hopefully giving some handholds of practical things that we can all be doing from home and in community, but just to unlock our hearts to a greater awakening of what he's doing and who he is for us. So yeah, it's going to be a great day. This will be our second virtual retreat and the first one was a hit and just a glorious day. So
yes.
Yeah.
January 23rd.
Yep.
And I can't remember the exact time it starts, but it's,
I think 9 to 3 Mountain Standard Time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Totally worth it, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Dar, for being on here and just sharing your heart and encouraging others to share their heart, their whole heart. And
absolutely. Thank you. Huge honor. Thanks, Kristin.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for listening to Wholistic Hearts. As always, leave a review and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. And if you'd like to find out more about my mom and all the things she is writing about, go to www.kristinfieldschadwick.com